Yeah, you can give this one.
You're good.
I'm good. Mr. Freitas, do you expect to speak? Okay, just checking, I just grabbed the sign-up sheet and I want to make sure. I'd like to call to order the May 14th, 2024 Columbia Borough Council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Council President Zink,
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman,
Here.
Councilperson Stahl,
Here.
Councilperson Fisher.
Here.
Councilperson Price,
Here.
Councilperson Murphy.
Here.
Councilperson Brigard.
Here.
Mayor Lutz.
Here.
All right, I believe we have, Reverend Harris would like to offer an invocation, so if you'd like, please rise.
Good evening. It's an honor to come before you today on behalf of the Columbia Area Ministerium. I'm the Reverend Martha Harris, and I serve as priest in charge of the closest church to Borough Hall, St. Paul Episcopal Church. Mayor Lutz, Council President Zink, Chief Palmer, let us pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, send down upon those who hold office in the Borough of Columbia the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve as members of council and as mayor, and work together to promote the well-being and safety of all people through Jesus Christ our Lord. We ask that the discussions and decisions made tonight be graced by your presence to improve the quality of life for both residents and visitors to Columbia. Amen.
Chief Brummer, would you like to lead us in a pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, announcement of executive sessions, there were none. Is there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda? Not aware of anything. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, citizen comment, non-agenda items only. There were no sign-ups, but is there anyone that wanted to speak that did not sign up? No? All right. Minutes for approval. Could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for April 9th, 2024?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for April 9th, 2024. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for April 25th, 2024?
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for April 25th, 2024. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Presentation and acceptance of reports, community development.
I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the Columbia Market House report for April 2024. Chris, you have anything? Any questions?
I know it's gonna be a long night. We do have customer appreciation coming up this Saturday. I'll be giving a bike of mine away, brand new. It's worth about $1,000. Of course, as you can see, I don't ride bikes much. So, but it's a beautiful bike. I'll be giving that away. And we have a lot of deals going on this Saturday, so stop in. Plus Senator Hammond's coming this coming Monday. There's 48 people, not this past Monday, but this one. So we have 48 people signed up so far, so make sure you go to his website to register to come see Senator Hammond speak. So probably about 60, 70 people expect, so it's pretty good. So, any questions or anything?
How many open stands do we currently have?
Well, the Lorettos will be leaving, but I have a replacement for them. And the master one, that's the only one left. And I almost have that sold to.
Is that the guacamole one?
Yes.
And what about the one on the opposite side of, behind the chocolate people?
That's a Mac.
The Mac still has that?
Correct.
Okay. And is the bread stand, are they paying for all 4 spaces?
well, you get the dog bakery.
Yeah,
you got
but there were
the
six,
place at
there were
Brand-
six.
Yeah,
So
half of it.
so they have 4 of the 6.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So hopefully we'll get the Loretto's switched over to the new vendor very soon. I have a list of people who like that, so. But the vegetable one, that's just the problem right now, so.
Yeah.
I'll be managing with this, so.
So are we gonna cut down the last half of that wall if Master 1 is done?
It depends on who really wants to get in there. They have a cooler in there that they gotta sell.
Mhm,
So I'm trying to sell it to somebody else so they can just move right in.
mhm.
So that's the biggest problem right now. She's moving to Houston, so that's, but I have a creamery and bakery that wants a big stand, but that's just not big enough for them.
Right.
And the problem is just, we just don't have enough stand space in there for the people I have coming in. So I like to put rollerways, but the problem is with the creamery, I have hand wash stand. Yeah, we just don't have space for hand wash stand.
Right.
I thought the dog bakery was gonna move into the Loretto's, which they brought a hand wash stand for the backside, but they don't want to do it. They have to get customer base now.
And also, I noticed, this weekend, Sadie Lane was closed off.
Right.
But I didn't see that on our list that we get from the chief.
So it was a
on-
couple weeks ago that I
things.
emailed Pam about closing it down, just moving the cars. And then I could use that for that event. And then I guess it just, never got to the proper channels. That's fine.
So, yeah, we need to make sure we have a procedure
Sure.
on what's happening
I'll
there.
communicate more with Jack and everything like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because,
It was just me and Pam, and she asked me for a list of stuff that because I have I have a company coming out of California that's gonna be renting the Market House for 5 straight days. So I need parking pads, so I just sent her a list of what I have going on.
so, and now a question, just because, I'm at finance here and
Sure.
I don't get you guys here at the same time.
Sure.
In the case of this past weekend, when we had that thing, do all of the vendors outside, did they they pay like a pop-up stand fee?
They do, so where that money went to, it was Strange Days beside me, we teamed up. So all that money, by the time we're done with the advertising, that money will be dispersed to nonprofits around town. We're not keeping any of that money, except for the Market House will get some some rental money. So until we see what that is, the finalization after printing and the advertising we spend on that.
Okay, because,
So
that's,
they're not making any, their Strange Days is not making any money on it, on that event. It was basically to bring in more commerce into the town. Since I lost the 2 Christmas shows from the Baker's Market, I have to find new ways to bring in more people for commerce. We probably brought in about 2,000 people on Saturday. It was a great event. They all want to come back. But the downtown was just booming. And I got to find ways to bring in more people because I got to remember my stand holders,
mhm.
and that's the number one thing.
Well, right, I just don't want them to suffer,
No, not at all. Everybody had a great day. Everybody made, especially the Amish, when they had Maker's Market there on Sundays. Now that they were there on Saturday, basically had the event on Saturday, it actually went a lot better with them there. So it was a good day for everybody.
Mhm.
I just got to come up with more events myself, do more event planning, team up with a lot of different organizations to start up and more events. And City Lane was beautiful. It looked perfect.
Yeah, I was
the police
just-
department.
I was just a little confused because I'm used to seeing that
Right.
facilities use thing, whenever it's blocked, it's always on that
It was sort of
spreadsheet they can send out.
We didn't know that the amount of stands that were gonna attack us and come after us. I would have had too many in the Market House for fire codes,
Mhm.
but that's what we had to move it out. So we want to make sure, next time I'll communicate.
Yeah, and because there was a food truck and that also
Yeah,
has
yeah,
other,
we're canning that for next year. They didn't make that
Too.
much money compared to the people inside. So,
alright.
all right. Any other questions?
Mm, think that was all I had this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Legislation.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge council receipt of the April 2024 legislative report. I would like to just let everybody know that Mark, myself, and Evan had I thought a really good meeting yesterday afternoon. Touch base. We're going to update updating the list with dates rather than just kind of like quarters and things like that. So we have a real goal to meet. You know what I mean? So I would expect the council was going to see a lot of action coming from legislation in the next month or so.
Awesome, thank you. Public Works and Property.
Yeah, I acknowledge the receipt of the Public Works and Property Report for April 2024. Any questions on it?
No, Jake, you weren't here last time. I just want to publicly acknowledge your joining as an honorary member of the police force in chasing down our vandals, so thank you. All right, and presentations. We have Z here from Boyer and Ritter to give us the results of the 2023 fiscal year audit.
As Heather mentioned there, I go by Z. My name is Nye Zahirovich. I'm a principal at Boyer and Ritter and individual responsible for the oversight of the borough's audit. This is our first year working with the borough, so certainly thank you for that opportunity and thank you for your time this evening to go over the results of the audit that we conducted. So, as we talk about results, really the most important part of the overall financial report, which we are required to issue, is an independent auditor's report. Basically, this is on page 1, right after the table of contents, and it starts right with the opinions paragraph. And I have noted there on the slide that we identify the opinion as unmodified. This is essentially a clean opinion, one that we've received in the past, one that we would expect to receive based on the work that the finance department is doing. So I'm going to read a little bit from that paragraph just so you kind of get a gist for what it says. And basically what it states is the borough has received an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, noting that the statements are reported accurately in accordance with the modified cash basis of accounting in all material respects. But like I said, this is a clean opinion for you all. After this paragraph, we go into a basis for opinion section, where we state that we conducted our audit in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards. We are independent of the borough and that we've met our ethical responsibilities in conducting the audit. And finally, on the first page, there is an emphasis of matter paragraph, where we highlight that the borough's financial statements are reported in accordance with the modified cash basis of accounting. This is a perfectly acceptable basis of accounting, one that's allowed by the state laws governing municipalities. However, it is not a generally accepted accounting principle, so we have to call attention to that through this emphasis of matter paragraph. Our independent auditor's report then goes on to page 2, where we start our discussion about what is management's responsibilities, and that is for the preparation of the financial statements, as well as for the internal controls related to the financial transactions. After that, we discuss the auditor's responsibilities, which first and foremost is to issue an opinion on the financial report, as I discussed already, but it's also to obtain assurance, reasonable assurance, that is, that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So we specifically, through the standards, utilize this terminology, reasonable assurance, just to provide you kind of a definition of that. It's a very high level of assurance, but it's not absolute. We don't have the ability to come in here and look at every single financial transaction that has occurred throughout the year. So we have to do some sampling, test basis kind of stuff, and that's where the reasonable assurance comes into play. Let's see. After that, we lay out that in performing the audit, we have to comply with what, as I mentioned before, the generally accepted auditing standards, which include things such as exercising professional judgment and professional skepticism, identifying and assessing any risk of material misstatement, and obtaining an understanding of the internal controls, and of course evaluating the accounting policies used by the borough. After that, there is a page 3 to the independent auditor's report. Here's where we identify the supplemental information, which includes budgetary comparison schedules, as well as some combining statements for the capital projects fund. And then there's also the other information paragraph, which identifies schedules related to the pension plan of the borough. Basically, for both the supplementary and other information, what we state is that the information presented in those sections aligns with other data within the financial report, as well as the supporting documents that were used to create those schedules in the back. So that, in a nutshell, is the results of the audit, the independent auditor's reports. Any questions before I move on? Okay. So the next slide here just identifies kind of the rest of the pieces of the financial report that have been provided to you all. Pages 4 and 5, well, pages 4 through 9 are essentially the statements, that's your balance sheets, income statements. There's some different terms used to call those, what we call those, but that's basically what they are. Pages 10 through 34 are the footnotes. I've identified a few of them here, which I think are most significant to the report. The footnotes basically provide further explanation of the amounts that are presented on the financial statements themselves. And then again, we have the supplementary information, other information listed here. I purposely skipped over kind of going through the individual pages of the financial statements because I have some summary slides here that talk about the numbers. If you look at the screen, it might be a little tough to see. So I'll just highlight some of the things here. So first slide, we talk about the general fund. That's the borough's main operating fund. It's where most of the revenues come in, where the expenses or payments come out of. Basically what we see, revenues went up about 70,000 from last year, so staying fairly consistent compared to last year. Expenditures had increased significantly, about 2.3 million from the previous year. And this is really attributed to that debt service line that you see there in 2023 that was not there in 2022. Previously, this debt service or the principal and interest payments on the borough's debt were reported in the capital projects fund. This year they're in the general fund, as that's where the payments were made. The other item that has increased significantly, if you can see the words and numbers up there, is the highways and streets line, or the highway and street department. And this is related to some of the properties that the borough purchased in the area here. So basically those two amounts, those two items are what account for the increase in total expenditures. And then at the bottom, two items, change in fund balance, that's basically net income. You can see that the net income because it's a negative number, the net loss for the borough's general fund was about 1.7. Again, that goes back to that service payments, purchase of properties, leaving an ending fund balance of about 2.4 million, which basically equates to the amount of cash and investments that the general fund had at the end of the year. Next one, excuse me, next fund that we have here is the capital projects fund. Basically, only revenue here is the interest on the cash investments within this fund. Expenditures are down about 600,000. This again is related to that debt service piece that, as you can see here, in 2022 was reported in the capital project fund. 2023 is when we reported that. And then the capital project is left with an ending fund balance of about 640,000. All of which the borough can decide whether to utilize in this coming year or in the future years for these projects that you might have in mind. One more slide of numbers. So here, just a summary. I kind of have this broken down into, well, well, the first part of it. So there's a government cash and cash equivalents, and then a fiduciary where identifies police and non-uniform, basically identifying the investments. So the government, cash and investments, that's your general fund, capital projects, and the ARPA funds that are out there. Total about 5.2 million. Last year was 7.8. This again goes back to that spending within the general fund to explain the decrease in that. The fiduciary investments or the pension trust funds that the borough has in place for its employees, the police and non-uniform employee pensions. You can see investments have gone up about 2 million from the previous year, explained by market increases, investment earnings. So that's that. And then the last item, which you don't see on the front financial statements, but which is described in the footnotes, is that general obligation bond with the long-term debt. About 8 million outstanding as of 12/31/23. Payments expected to be made through 2038. So about 2 more years of payments there. Okay. So that's the financial report, some of the numbers. The other thing I just want to highlight here comes in what we call a required communications letter. It's a separate document outside the financial report. All positive items here to note. So one, there were no uncorrected misstatements. If there was anything identified through our audit process, whether by the management team or us, we discussed it, management reviewed and approved it, ultimately put it into the accounting system, so the financial report reflects any adjustments made at year end. I can say the adjustments that we did have were just presentation type entries to make sure things got on the right line within the financial report. The other items there, again, all positives. We did not have any disagreements with management. We didn't identify any, we did not, just to make sure that was clear. We did not identify any significant issues that we discussed. And we certainly didn't encounter any difficulties in conducting our audit. So we want to take a moment here and thank Tammy, Mark, the rest of their team for all their help, cooperation throughout the audit process. Without that cooperation, it makes our jobs a lot more difficult than they need to be, but they were on top of everything, so thank you guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let's see. Yeah, that is going to take me to the last slide there. Thank you all again for your time, again for the opportunity to work with the borough. Certainly appreciate it. Hope to have the opportunity to make this presentation to you all for a few more years, but not many more into the future. And then if you have any good questions now, my contact info, reach out to me later, another day.
Any questions, comments, concerns from council? I just want to personally thank you. It was a pleasure working with you. I know that when we found out at the very end of the year we had to get a new auditor, we were all kind of nervous because when you work with someone new for the first time. But I just want to say thank you for the ease with which everything was done. And I also want to publicly give a thank you to Tammy Bennett and Laurie Gerfin. One of the things when I came into office, I saw that year after year we had audit issues, and there were many audit issues, and there's letters saying all of the deficiencies were huge. And we've been chipping away at them, and so to finally have an audit where we have no deficiencies to resolve has been great, and that goes to the hard work of Tammy, to Laurie, and also Mark Stivers for putting in policies that had not been put in place, and so we're now in a much better place, and I feel like we're being fiscally responsible to our constituents. So thank you.
Thank you.
See.
Thanks, Z.
And that's it.
Thanks.
Mayor Lutz, Chief Brummer.
Madam President, before I do, does the council need to accept the audit?
No.
I didn't want you-
No, we're just acknowledging it when we received it.
Couple things. Just before I came down here to the meeting, I was contacted by a writer from Lancaster newspapers about something that's going to happen Friday night. The ribbon cutting ceremony, I'll call it, or the opening of the Common Wheel. And they asked my opinion about, this program. And I'll try to regurgitate what I told them. I believe the borough is very excited to see that program come to Columbia. It's an activity and a learning experience for our youth, where they'll be learning, how do you, hands-on, how to work with tools, something about gearing, about bearings, and those kind of things that will carry them for life. Who knows, someday they may have children of their own, and the kids may have a bike, and they say, hey, Dad or Mom, I need to fix my bike. Hey, I can fix that for you. How'd you learn how to do this? I learned at the Common Wheel. So it's great. I love, and we keep trying to find programs for our youth. And this is great. This is a great program. I believe in it. I think it's been proven. They are in Lancaster. They're expanding to Columbia. And the other part of that is I was down there last Friday, and here was the Lazy K, we'll call it, a vacant, condemned building. I was in there the day that we condemned it. And I'll tell you, I wanted to go home and take a shower after I walked through the place. That's how bad it was. When I walked in there last Friday, I was blown away. It's beautiful. They did a wonderful job in there. And I think if you go down there Friday evening at 6:30 and take a look at it, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And along with that, our merchants and our business folk are doing a tremendous job. Things are being revitalized here in our downtown, and it looks now that we grabbed that last block down there in the 100 block. The Myers Brothers had the mixed-use property down there. Representative Miller moved in there. We have a bike shop in there. Now across the street, the Common Wheel, and these two groups know each other, and there's some other things happening in that block, and that's great. And I want to see that block continue to improve. Along with that, what we're seeing there is a result of decisions made a few years ago with that River Park and that Northwest Lancaster County Trail. That's starting to drive businesses to come into Columbia to take advantage of those amenities that have been created here in Columbia. So it's all working. I'm excited about it. And like I say, if you get a chance, get down there Friday night and take a look at it. I'm excited about it. The other thing is, I hate to go from something really good to something bad, but I'm going to have to. Because y'all know my pet peeve. Drove down Logan Street tonight and I looked at the one trash can up here in the corner, and it's a foot over the top. It's got to stop. I mean, we got people coming in here, not only our residents. Our residents are calling me up and saying, Leo, got to do something about this trash in downtown. And we all know, okay? We all know that it's here today, gone. Our haulers, Gambies, they come in here whenever they can and they take the trash, but in less than 24 hours, it looks like that again. And that's terrible. I think we need to take a hard look at it, find out where it's coming from. And if necessary, talk to these folks and say, you need to put a dumpster somewhere or something out of sight and get your people to put this stuff in these dumpsters, not in our trash cans in the downtown. It's very disheartening to me to see that when I drive downtown. And I know what all the businesses are doing in Columbia to try to revitalize this community. And then I see that and I know people are coming in from the outside and they're seeing it.
I had talked to Jake and I said, I don't want to feel like, I realize that Jack, I mean, he'll come through and some of those cans he'll empty every day, and we're not paying for that service, but I don't want to be the municipality that takes advantage of their vendors' good nature
Yes,
either.
he's a tremendous community
He is.
guy, and you're right, Heather, out of the goodness of his heart, whenever he swings through, he'll empty a trash can. And it's not a Monday and a Friday type deal, he'll pick them up whenever, but it is disheartening.
Yeah, like the ones at Stover's and here, I think we are contracted 3 times a week. Yeah, so, but if he's picking them up every day, I mean,
I've been talking about this for years, and I know it's not an easy fix, but I think we need, summertime's coming, we're gonna have a lot of people, but also, like I say, when I get phone calls from our residents, and they say, Leo, you gotta do something. It's terrible when I go downtown, or I bring friends in, and we walk downtown, and I see this. We've gotta do something. Chief, you have anything?
I do. The staff with the police department continues to focus on recruiting and hiring police officers. And one of your agenda items this evening bears the fruits of their work. I did want to give you an update on a number of things, including our current cadet, Becca Black, who's in the academy. She has about a month and a half, 2 months to go, is doing fantastic. So I got an update last week. Straight A's in two of the semesters. She's doing very well with her physical agility too. So we're very proud of her. Can't wait to get her on the street. Wanted to also mention that this weekend we are holding a written exam for police officer position. And we are very excited to announce that we have 23 applicants for that. So with all the challenges that we have faced, all agencies for that matter, over the last few years, it seems like the numbers are starting to rebound. And I think when I handed council or sent out this document on police officer staffing to all of you and the mayor, I think it certainly, upon viewing that, it comes to light quite quickly that with 11 of our staff members, officers in their 20th year or more, we're facing some challenges going forward. So we certainly need to make this a priority, and we will continue to do so. Thank you.
did you also want to let council know why you weren't here on last Tuesday?
We could certainly talk about that. I believe the mayor had spoken about it
He
briefly.
mentioned
Yes,
it,
yes,
but
so-
yeah, so.
Yeah, we're very proud to get invited to a presentation, commendation presentation. A number of officers and a number of firefighters from the borough recognized for saving a life back in February. So a gentleman who was having a mental health breakdown had entered the river. 2 of the officers had actually entered the river as well to sort of stabilize him until the river rescue boat was able to get in and save his life. And all present felt as if it wasn't for their prompt action, it could have resulted in tragedy.
The Susquehanna River in February, minutes away from my.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they had indicated the temperature was about 40 degrees for the water.
Thank you. All right. Okay, at this time, we are exiting the regular meeting at 7:34 PM. And we're going to open the public hearing for the 2024 CDBG application at 7:34 PM. Derek, you want to lead us in the hearing?
Absolutely. So this hearing is a requirement of the CDBG application, and it's also our opportunity to talk a little bit more about the project, receive any feedback from council or residents. Is there anybody in the audience here for this project tonight? 900 to 1,000 block Walnut Street. Yeah. All right, then the hearing can be pretty brief since the main goal would be to get public feedback. Council, I believe you're all familiar with the project based on authorizing its submission for the notice of intent. Just as a recap, we are looking at a curb and sidewalk project, starting at the 900 block, which is where Mark's going to be your tour guide as you drive up Walnut Street via Google Earth. You're mostly familiar with the Taylor School on the right-hand side of the screen. Curb and sidewalk on that side of the street is 95 to 98% great. There's a couple squares we'll probably replace, but for the most part, that stays. On the left side of your screen, we have sections of good curb. Excuse me, on the 900 block, I think all of the curb has to go. We have some sections of sidewalk that we can keep. But in general, it's going to be a full replacement on the left-hand side of your screen. This section of Walnut Street was paved more recently than the 1000 block. So we would not be looking at paving this block, but we are excited to have the curb and sidewalk upgraded to a point that would meet our specs so that when this street does need it, borough crews can mill and pave it without any concrete work, which again, that seems to be one of the biggest hurdles is getting the concrete and the ADA ramps ready for crews to pave it. So we'll get this ready for a future paving project. This is where it gets a little ugly. The intersections and just a little ugly. Mark, if you could swing over and look over your shoulder for me on the, looking backwards. So we have two non-compliant ADA ramps. And again, that being a route to school, it's really important we get those upgraded. So your paving limits are going to be right about where the mouse is sitting. We will replace those ramps and we will come back into the 900 block until we can hit a good joint and cut it off there. The entire intersection will get repaved. And then as we swing back around and run up the 1000 block, on your right-hand side, there really isn't anything that I can see over there.
Back at that intersection, Derek, are we gonna have to relocate that telephone pole?
No, what we'll do is we'll do a split ramp around it.
Okay,
So instead of doing a corner ramp, you'll have a ramp on either side with a high point in the middle.
okay.
No, I don't want to touch that.
I was wondering, I'm like, I don't think that sounds like a good idea.
Nope, that's no fun. So we're gonna leave that there, we'll just work around it.
Will we be moving the street sign on the other side then? Because that could easily be moved.
That could be, but actually what I was planning to do on that side was also do a split ramp.
Okay.
Leave the sign where it is. Really, in the ADA regs, I know that a lot of the ramps we've replaced and a lot of what you see downtown are what we would call corner ramps, so the singular ramps on the corner. PennDOT and ADA really pushes you to have the split ramps. That they're kind of safer, they're more accessible because you're not making a turning movement going up the ramp. A lot of times the site conditions warrant a corner ramp with all the tie-ins, like all these curb and sidewalk jobs downtown. We just don't have enough room to do those split ramps. But up here where we have the room, that's what I'd like to put in. They're better and safer.
Awesome.
Okay.
Do you want to keep going up? Are you good?
You can, pretty good right there. As I said, on the right-hand side, that's going to be a full replacement. On the left-hand side of your screen, there is a nice section here in the center. I don't know if Google Earth will have it. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. If you've been up there, there's some stone work that's been done in the grass strip. There's a pretty lengthy section in the center of that street. Curbs in great shape, sidewalks in good shape. I wouldn't propose replacement. That all meets spec. It looks good. So we can save a little bit of money there. And I think as we move up towards the intersection, there's another couple areas there where we can save some sidewalk. Right there on your left-hand side, that property is pretty good. So again, on that left side, we'll save what we can save, but keeping it uniform when we're done. Again, if you've walked up that right side of the street, you could pick 1 or 2 blocks out that are worth it, but really that whole thing's got to go, and we're just going to make it uniform. We'll hit that joint that you see on your screen there in Walnut Street. That 1000 block will get milled. We'll do a scratch course to level out that profile. We'll hit some paving fabric on there to keep it together, which we've been doing on a lot of your projects. Really add some longevity and some strength to your streets, and a nice overlay. That's our proposed project. Schedule of events would be the public hearing, and then I will ask for the authorization to pass a resolution here after this. That would be your formal authorization to submit the grant. I will be on the planning commission agenda next week to present the project to them and get a letter of support. Lancaster County Planning Commission will be issuing a letter of support through their review of the application. And then ultimately, the entire packet is due to the Lancaster County Redevelopment Authority on May 28th. So we got 2 weeks to pull it all together, but we're pretty good. Anybody have any questions about the project?
Approved, when do you start?
What's that, Todd?
If approved, when does it start?
Next year.
It'll be a next year project, so we would, assuming we would find out, I think the interviews would be in late June. You know, they'll accept the applications at the end of May. They will do the actual applicant interviews usually late June, early July. We'll find out sometime mid to end of July whether we got the money. Then we'll kick off survey and design through the fall, and then bid it early next year. Really similar timeline as to what you're seeing Union Street, since that was last year's project.
Derek, on that picture right there, you're only going to be doing the street work to about where the W is, not up into the intersection?
We're not going to really get much into the intersection. Those two ADA ramps will get replaced. So what I'm seeing is we'll put new ramps there. I did fail to mention that. Those two ramps get replaced, and then we'll probably cut a joint around whatever we need to patch those ramps in. But we were not intending to pave into 12th Street.
Because they need the bumpies too,
Excuse
don't
me,
they?
11. Yeah, they do.
They need the bumpies.
It's really nice to hear you say, especially in this area, that I've known the history of this whole area, especially the next block. That we're using more of the fabric to help pull the streets up, because that area there, Jake knows, we had mud coming up through the street in that area.
Next block.
Yeah, the next block, but it's right in that area. It's clay soil, not a lot underneath.
You traditionally have really good base under the streets in the borough, but you have very little asphalt on top of that base. It's why when you look at your streets, you really don't see a lot of rutting in your streets. What happens is that thin layer of asphalt that you have, it just wears out and cracks and it falls apart. Aside from the utility cuts, we won't go there.
Yeah.
But in general, when you look at a worn out street in the borough, you usually have very little rutting or base failure. That base is really strong. It's the cracking that kills you. So that paving fabric adds another layer of rigidity to that base and helps keep some of those cracks from coming up. It just adds a lot more life to your streets.
Well, and these pictures must have been taken before all the utility work on that.
Yeah.
These are 2011 pictures, I think.
Yeah,
They're pretty
on
old.
that block, because
Yeah.
recently that block is pretty bad.
It is. I think that's all I have. Unless anybody has any more
All
questions.
right, are there any questions from the audience on the project? Are there any questions from council?
I just have one, is there a reason that it's happening up there compared to other areas in town?
We had discussed that last time. Previously, all of our CDBG work has been, the majority of it is downtown, and this area is in the CDBG eligible area. So we thought, let's, move to, because we've done the whole corner down. Yeah, down it.
800, 700, all the way down to practically the end of the street, really, has been redone, except for, the further up you go, it's really bad.
We try to target, when we pick a project, we do try to target a street that really needs it. And again, you have a talented public works crew here that can do a lot of paving on their own. But if there's concrete work that has to be accomplished before the paving can happen, that can kill a project because of the cost of the concrete work. This block, especially the 1,000 block, into the 900, has very bad curb. and the sidewalk isn't that great. So it wouldn't be prudent to pave this street without addressing the concrete issues. The grant gave us an opportunity to get the concrete paid for, with even a little bit of money towards the paving. So it made this project feasible. Otherwise, you'd be paving a street with curbs falling in. That's just not, this council's been very, very clear with that vision, and I agree with it, that we shouldn't be doing that anymore.
Yeah, I want to echo that.
Adopting complete streets.
Yep.
I want to echo that, Terry. We talked about it for years. In that area, even over the Locust Street, in that general 10th Street area of the borough, the curbs are leaning out. Apparently they weren't put in deep enough, they're leaning out. And we run the risk of if we don't fix those curbs, we run a risk of water getting in there and causing further damage to sidewalks, possibly even getting into basements on homes, because really the seal from the street is broken. And when you get rainwater going down through there, and there's no box drains in that area, so it's running down the street and it's going to go in back of those curb lines that are leaning over and cause significant damage. So, we talked about this for years, about getting those curbs that are rolling in and getting them replaced. And this is an opportunity for us to do it with the CDBG.
Any other questions, comments, concerns before the hearing? Seeing none, we're going to exit the hearing at 7:46 p.m. We're going to reopen the regular Columbia Borough Council meeting at 7:47 p.m. And our first action item is to adopt resolution 2024-18, approving the 2024 CDBG project for 900 and 1000 block of Walnut Street.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl and a second by Councilperson Kaufman.
It was Burgard, right?
It's Todd, wasn't it?
Oh, I heard Eric before.
Was there?
It doesn't matter.
All right, then we'll give it to Todd, okay. I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, a second by Councilperson Burgard to adopt resolution 2024-18, approving this 2024 CDBG project for the 900 and 1000 block of Walnut Street. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, we have resolution 2024-19 to revise resolution 2024-09 to request the Pennsylvania General Assembly name the bridge that crosses the US 30 and connects to State Route 3441, the Major General Edward C. Shannon Memorial Bridge. Do I have a motion for that? I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Burgard. The reason we have to do this is because we originally sent it with the request to have it be the byway. PennDOT said no, they want just a bridge, not a whole section of the highway. So this is just officially changing it to say we want it to be the bridge. We've already seen the proposed legislation from Representative Miller and also the request for co-sponsorships. So it's all done. This is just the last remaining piece to get it to a point that PennDOT would approve it. So, are there any questions, comments, concerns?
Does it get the plaque on the bridge?
Yeah. I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Burgard, to adopt resolution 2024-19 to revise resolution 2024-09 to request that the Pennsylvania General Assembly name the bridge that crosses US Route 30 and connects to State Route 3441, the Major General Edward C. Shannon Memorial Bridge. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to authorize the borough engineer to submit the land development plan for the McGinnis project to the Lancaster County Planning Commission and Columbia Borough Planning Commission?
Second.
So motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Stahl.
I'll make one correction to that. It's the subdivision plan. It's not the land development plan.
Okay.
So sorry about that.
So just to add to the confusion, under the definition of land development in the MPC is a subdivision. So they're both correct. It is a subdivision plan.
Okay.
Takes a nerd to appreciate a nerd.
Thank you, Mark. Just some commentary. This is a big step forward for this project. Over the course of, I'll say, the last year, but it feels like even longer than that. We've had to negotiate with multiple adjoining property owners. In total here, I believe it ended up being 7 that we had to do some land swaps with. We had to agree upon where the boundaries were. We had to extinguish alleys. We had to establish stormwater easements. There have been a lot of discussions. I personally have been on every one of these people's front porch, just about. So, with the exception of a couple, but it's been a long process. But this subdivision plan locks down the outer boundary of the business park, which is a critical piece to closing your BIOS limit. So this will lock it in, and this also cuts off the southern conservation area and establishes that future park.
Awesome. And yesterday, the Lancaster County Planning Commission did approve the rezoning for that one small parcel. To have it go back to,
740 South 12th Street.
yeah. So that was on our agenda yesterday. Are there any questions, comments? This is a huge moment. I mean, this is like, there have been several big moments in this project, but I feel like this is one of those monumental, it's really happening moments.
Mhm.
Like can't go backwards from here.
Right, it's it. I mean, this is it. So, Mark, you look like you want to say something.
Nope, just wait
We're all
and
just
get it
happy.
done.
All right. Any further questions, comments? Nothing. I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Stahl to authorize the borough engineer to submit the subdivision plan for the McGinnis project to Lancaster County Planning Commission and the Columbia Borough Planning Commission. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we're moving. Next, could I have a motion to authorize the bill payments?
Second.
Motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Stahl. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? I didn't really see anything that stuck out. None? Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Stahl to authorize the bill payments. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next. We were asked to consider authorizing the staff and the borough attorney to advertise for a public hearing to consider the Comcast franchise agreement. This is the agreement that is redone every 2 years or 4 years.
I think it's every 4 years.
Oh, yeah, it's every 4 years because it was the first,
Yeah.
every 4 years. We have an outside attorney. Mark, do you want to?
Sure.
You know all this off.
So the Cohen Law Group is who we work with for many years. They are the experts in these kind of right-of-way franchise agreements. If you remember, it's Cohen that we joined with other municipalities in the LIMC area to look at amending our right-of-way ordinance as a whole. I've been working with Joel out there. We did the first Comcast agreement back in 2020. We're now amending this one to get it in. Some of the laws have changed with this. In the past, these type of agreements, the company was required to provide certain services free. That has changed. Comcast is no longer required to. They can opt to, but they're no longer required to. In the negotiations we've had with them, they have agreed to still provide service free of charge to certain public buildings here in the borough. This office, Public Works, down at the crossings, the fire department building, all those buildings are going to be covered by this agreement. So I feel like it's a fair one. It's a good agreement. We have to just get authorization to advertise it. Then we have to hold a public hearing. So we'll get all the documentation to you guys for the public hearing.
I believe the school was also included in that.
I mean, yeah,
service.
yep.
I thought I saw them on the list because I thought that was a good deal. So, we would just like to get authorization and this is the formality that has to happen per, the law and everything else.
And to add some confusion to it, I was asking him like, what do we follow? And oddly, this follows federal law, not state law.
Right.
These franchise agreements fall under the Federal Communications Act. So this is following federal law to do this. In the federal law's wisdom, there are no guidelines as to how often you advertise, how long before a hearing. So Evan and I talked about it. We're just going to follow our standard procedure.
Yeah, we're gonna do what is in the MPC that's defined as public notice. That kind of a belt and suspenders. If you do that, it's kind of, I don't want to say unchallengeable, but it's less likely to be challenged if you do that. So we'll advertise it twice and make sure that it's very clear that we gave the public notice that this hearing's taking place.
Yeah, so basically, if we decide to authorize it tonight, we would be able to have the hearing at the first voting meeting in June. That's a month, right? Or the second voting.
Yeah, we
meeting.
could probably advertise it. Yeah.
The way you usually do it is like a range, right?
Yeah, it has to be, if
Is it a
we
date
follow the
certain?
public notice in the MPC, it has to be advertised twice, not more than 30 days in advance, but not less than 7. So we should be able to get it in for the first voting meeting in June, because that does give us a month. I was thinking it was later in the month.
Yeah,
but
no, that'll give us a month, so that would be when it is. Does anyone have a problem voting on this tonight? All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Bergard. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Bergard and a second by Councilperson Stahl to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise for a public hearing to consider the Comcast franchise agreement. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we're asked to consider authorizing staff to extend an offer of employment to Zachary Throne for the position of full-time police officer. I would like to note, I realized just before the meeting that our packet does not include the required letter from the Civil Service Commission recommending this officer. So if we do make this motion tonight, I would like it to be contingent upon receipt of the letter from the Civil Service Commission, just so we're covered, because we all know how the issues with getting police officers. We don't want it to get thrown out on a technicality and have it take even longer. Does anyone have any questions? Right. So Councilperson Bergard would like to make that motion to authorize staff to extend an offer of employment to Zachary Throne for the position of full-time police officer contingent upon receipt of the Civil Service letter of recommendation. Is there a second? I have a motion by Councilperson Bergard, a second by Councilperson Kaufman to authorize staff to extend the offer of employment to Zachary Throne for position of full-time police officer contingent upon receipt of the Civil Service recommendation letter. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we are asked to consider authorizing the borough attorney and staff to work with the Lancaster County Tax Claim Bureau to acquire 2 lots that are listed on the land repository that are adjacent to Zion Hill Cemetery. This is kind of an odd thing. Mark, Evan, yeah, there's actually 4 parcels that make up the cemetery. And 2 of them, number 3 and 5, are owned by someone outside of the area, and they have been on the delinquent tax list for well over 10 years. So we don't know why, but we had the tax office put them on the list on the repository list to be sold. So we would like to authorize them to acquire those 2 parcels. We believe we have a plan for parcel number 4 as well. So then 1, 3, 4, and 5 would be ours to include as 1 parcel for Zion Hill.
One, say it again.
We currently own number 1.
Number 1,
3 and 5 are the 2 we would like to have them.
right? And Zion Hill is 4.
Well, yeah, but we don't even know if it's like a real thing, but we believe in talking with Evan, since we own Zion Hill, we believe that the borough we would make the case that is ours anyway. So we can have Mark sign a deed assigning it to Columbia Borough, and that way then all 4 parcels would be owned by Columbia Borough. Then we could do a reverse subdivision like we did at McGinnis.
Then you never have this problem again.
To basically memorialize it so we don't have this issue again.
And we've been wanting to change the name. It's a the name of parcel number 1 is deeded to, I think, Columbia Borough Potter's Field, I believe is how it's deeded. And that's just a name that, we don't use anymore. So we've been meaning to get that changed. We figured we'll do it all at one time here, so we can make sure that area is preserved and taken care of. So this is a good way. What happens when properties are exposed to tax sale, if nobody bids on them, they end up on the repository list. That happens with properties that, like these ones are landlocked. Nobody has any real use for these properties other than the cemetery. So that's the process that it goes through, and then we can bid on those properties when they're in there. So
and basically it would end up, we would get a letter back from the Tax Claim Bureau asking us to approve the sale of the property to ourselves for $1 or whatever we bid on it. Yeah.
Would we pay the tax lien that's already on it, the tax
No.
liability? No.
not necessarily. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Because usually when they're in the repository, if someone submits the claim on it or, submits an offer on it, it has to come back to us. So if it doesn't cover the back taxes, we could deny it. But this way, the taxes are owed to ourselves. So we're going to be
Good to make use of that.
right.
For what it really is, make it make sense to you.
Right. And something else, I had posed the question that should we be including an amount or anything like that, but we don't want to do that because in talking with Evan, you don't want to say, oh, we're willing to pay up to X dollars and then have someone bid us up just for the sake of bidding it up. So this way we're just working to get it all together.
What's the little triangle below number 1?
That's the easement.
Yeah, it's PennDOT's.
PennDOT.
That's part of PennDOT?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's a weird little piece. When the state came through and made the right of way, there's a bunch of those little slivers between lot 1 and the triangle. Chris, is that Purple's Lane when it came across there or something like that? I think that's the old Purple's Lane right away that angled across.
No, I see it.
If you back it up, you back out, and I can't do it here, but you back out in the view, you can see how Purple's Lane would line up right with that. So some of those old odd pieces that just never got cleaned up when 30 came through. There's a bunch of them along there. That other side of the street, you see the top of that little hexagon. The borough owns that piece. Throughout, there's all these little strange little, I'll say orphan
I know there was a
parcels.
lot of odds and ends when you put 30.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that's what it was.
And that's how 3 and 4 kind of got formed as well. They probably made sense back in the 50s. They're just leftover pieces now. And the next one next to 5, to the right of 5, that weird piece comes down. That goes all the way up, and that belongs to the Columbia Water.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Trying to get some of these loose ends tied up. Does anyone have a problem voting on this evening? Do I have a motion to authorize the borough attorney and staff to work with the Lancaster County Tax Claim Bureau to acquire 2 lots that are listed on the land repository that are adjacent to Zion Hill Cemetery?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl. To authorize the borough attorney and staff to work with Lancaster County Tax Claim Bureau to acquire 2 lots that are listed on the land repository that are adjacent to Zion Hill Cemetery. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next we are asked to consider authorizing staff to contract with ECS Mid-Atlantic LLC to provide environmental consulting services for review of the Act 2 report for the Ridge Avenue properties at a cost of $6,250. Derek.
Okay, so as I mentioned in the brief in front of you, we were all aware of the Act 2 status of the Ridge Avenue property when we purchased it. To aid in the development of the site, and also this is a requirement of the Act 2 covenant, because we're subdividing the site and changing it, we need to update this. We did do some preliminary research on what the Act 2 covenant said. We know that this covenant is an old one. It was kind of from the beginning of when they first started doing these types of covenants on properties. So it provides some opportunity to clean this covenant up and allow some more flexibility for the use and development of property in the future. Another thing that we've talked about doing is currently all 3 properties are under one covenant. It would likely make sense to create 2 covenants. One for the Borough Public Works building that we're planning to retain, and then we'll create a separate for the residual lot 2, so that whatever happens with that, they'll have to deal with their covenant, their reporting, and we'll have our own. So this is the cost to go ahead and do those updates. We're also including in this proposal the specific, I'm going to butcher the terminology here, but it's basically the work plan that's required to be developed for working on a site with Act 2. It's like a personal protection plan. For our contractor, whenever you start the Ridge Avenue, we have to have a special environmental plan to say, this is how you dig, this is how you stockpile. That's something that environmental engineer needs to create, and that's included in K's and ECS's.
The health and safety plan.
There it is. So that's in there too. So those are the 2 pieces. We'd like to see this authorized so that we can just continue this. This process will run parallel then to the kind of the subdivision and the design and development. So.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Does anyone have a problem voting on this one tonight?
No.
I'll make a motion.
All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl. Do I have a second? I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Murphy, to authorize staff to contract with ECS Mid-Atlantic LLC to provide environmental consulting services for review of the Act 2 report for the Ridge Avenue properties at a cost of $6,250. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, we have proposals submitted for the Ridge Avenue design. And we're being asked to select a firm for this project. Normally we have a recommendation on here. We did not have a recommendation. I was looking through, I was a little confused. Mark said he was a little confused. He called Derek. Derek said, I'm not surprised you're confused. So we're just gonna let Derek take this one away. And he's gonna lead us through this discussion.
I will keep this brief, and, we're used to having a recommendation because usually we put something out to bid and we have a low bidder and we say, here it is. This isn't necessarily the case. This is professional services, so you're not tied to the low bid. Your selection should be based on qualifications and, price. As you evaluate the three proposals in front of you, three very qualified firms, C.S. Davidson has worked with all three in the past. We have high respect for all three who submitted. They all, just so you know, they all did a site visit. We committed an hour to each firm individually to walk through the site, ask questions. We summarized the questions that all three asked and provided that back to them. So I wanted you to know that our goal tonight was to try to provide you with a document with not an apple, an orange, and a pear. We wanted you to have three very similar proposals to be able to review. What I can say is RLPS's proposal was very well put together, but their price was considerably higher compared to the other two. So I'm comfortable recommending that you disregard the RLPS proposal just based on their price. Qualifications were good, but Moulet and Cornerstone both submitted proposals that were very similar to each other. The rate tables are very similar. Firms are known for this type of work. Basically, if first of all, I just wanted to open, does anybody have any opinions or questions about either of the firms, or would you just like to hear what my recommendation is?
They're both very well qualified, that's for sure.
Yes.
I was just confused what the final price was for Cornerstone.
Yeah, of course.
You know what? I had that same problem.
Yeah.
But it's kind of toward the bottom, but it's in the middle.
So yeah, I guess I got to get into the weeds a little bit here. So I know that Cornerstone gave a base price of around 108, and Moulet's price was just 110 out the door.
Yeah.
Cornerstone added on some reimbursables and some options for additional design services. Moulet did not include any reimbursables, which you would expect, mileage, prints, application fees. You're going to have those. So kind of the 110 final price for Moulet does not include all of the reimbursables. I think the final 134 from Cornerstone includes all of that stuff and maybe a little extra that you don't want. So I think if you compare the base prices, the 108 to the 110 of Moulet, those are really the two numbers I would compare. And frankly, when I'm talking about 108,000 and 110,
Right.
not a lot of difference. So, yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed. I really like RLPS, but they were just way too.
The work samples they offered were really fitting, I think, to
Well, and
what
they've
we're
done
trying
so
to achieve.
well, and they've done so much local as well.
And I don't want to look if you guys want to consider that. Like, I don't want to dissuade you, but
No, I
Looking at
just
price.
I just was saying. I
Yeah.
mean, I was kind of disappointed, but it is what it is. I mean, cost is what it costs. But we also have to be good stewards of our tax money and.
I'd like to hear Derek's recommendation.
I would be happy to work with both Moulet or Cornerstone. For Columbia Borough, I am recommending Cornerstone. And what's that? Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Yep. We're currently working with Cornerstone on a public works project in Windsor Township, which is one of the buildings that your staff toured with me when we were doing the feasibility study. That project's been going very well. Where I see Cornerstone having a little bit of the edge here is their client interaction and their presentation quality. Again, nothing against Moulet, but I think you see the quality of the proposals, just the kind of the paper they're printed on, the pictures included, the graphics. The presentation of the proposal just felt a little bit more superior to Moulet in the paper in front of you. So I think you're getting a kind of a quality presentation product, but with a group who I can stand behind their qualifications to do this type of work. They've done public works projects with us. It's a Lancaster County firm. So again, I would be thrilled to work with either firm. They're both extremely qualified, but if you gotta put me in a corner here and I'm gonna say for Columbia Borough on this project, I would recommend Cornerstone.
You're on Chestnut Street, right? No,
City.
The city, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you're saying, yeah.
I myself was thinking towards Cornerstone. I thought their presentation, what they did was very detailed. They included a whole lot of information and proceeded not to. So I was thinking towards them as well.
Anyone else?
What happens, I'm a picture guy.
Mhm.
So I want to see no pictures, suggestion. What happens if you pay this money and whichever outfit comes in with this proposal, design proposal, and you say, I don't like this? You just spent a lot of money for nothing?
Well, no, there were notes in there that,
Yeah.
that it includes like multiple.
You get the three iterations of
yeah,
options and
up the iterations of options.
we'll meet with them
they'll-
and
they can update it, change it, whatever.
we'll walk through the process with them initially, kind of give them the idea of what we're looking for. One thing that we've talked about consistently is the final cost of construction is going to be the driving factor here. We want to design as everything, and then if we have to break it up into phases, then we'll do that.
When I see design for this building, that apartment complex, this building, this park, everything else, I see a picture. And I can look at it and I can say, okay, I like this, or can you change this, or this? I don't see that. It's
Well, that's what we'll
like,
get with the,
You're paying for something that you may be visualizing in your mind, but it may not turn out to be that way.
I think we'll get that with every firm we select. We'll get
I've never
concept
seen-
drawings.
I've never seen a proposal for a design and not seen the design.
Oh.
I don't think they're trying to sell us a design. I think they're
Yeah.
selling us design services.
Right.
To a design.
Yeah.
So that we'll have input into what we want.
Absolutely.
Okay, I can buy that.
Right?
Yeah.
I can buy that.
Mayor, right now, you're selecting a firm to provide you a design based on their qualifications, their portfolio of past projects, and then ultimately their rate table with an estimated cost.
Based on what you want it to look like.
Correct.
Okay, I can buy that.
Yeah, again, all three have seen the building, walked through it. They've had our budget and scope explained to them. So it isn't like we sent them a
Okay, I
Google
mean,
Earth
I can
map and
live with
said,
that,
we
but
want
I
to
just-
build it.
I didn't
Yeah.
want to buy a pig in a book.
Nope, they all know what they're getting themselves into, and they all love the artwork, I must say.
And there is so much of it in
I got
there.
Thoughts about that.
Technology nowadays.
One of the things that drove our decision to push this direction and get the design services done separately versus the direction of getting it all inclusive is with this, if we do go in phases, these designs are ours now. And we can take them and bid those out however we want.
That's great.
And we own them.
That's
which-
great. We will get to own the
Right.
design.
Yeah.
There have been times when we did it.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? Did anyone want to make a motion to select Cornerstone as the design firm. for
I'll
the
make that motion.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Councilperson Murphy and a second by Councilperson Stahl to select
We own the
Cornerstone
plan.
as the architect for the Ridge Avenue design project. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we got Cornerstone.
Thank you.
All right. Next, staff reports, comments, and announcements. We have Solicitor Gable.
Not too much to report tonight. As Councilperson Murphy said, we had a good meeting yesterday, and I would expect to see several ordinances over the next month or month and a half here for you guys to take a look at and get moving. Still have not heard from Norfolk Southern on the wastewater treatment plant, so hoping to get that done here relatively soon, but we're kind of waiting on them, and we'll see if there's anything we can do to try to speed that up, so.
Derek.
Getting tired here.
I know, it's like
But-
tonight's the Derek show.
But I can't allow the meeting to end without talking about our construction war zone out on Union Street right now. So we are rocking and rolling out there. You currently have 3 contractors occupying 1 borough block. Columbia Water is doing some water main replacement so that they can get out of our paving. Once we pave that street, they won't have to reopen it. We have our friends at UGI in on Union Street dealing with shallow surfaces, just like we dealt with on 2nd Street. They're lowering them to get underneath our proposed curb. And of course, your main contractor, Construction Masters, is out there right now doing demo work. They just did some survey today for the curb line stakeout. The plan was to pour that curb this week. It'll be weather dependent. Might go in Friday. But you're going to start seeing concrete out there real soon. So these guys, they mobilized fast. So they're mobilized fast. They're moving fast. So aside from some normal hiccups when we dig up an old street, nothing too out of the ordinary. We're handling it. Everything's going well out there.
All right.
And I will also note that in addition to being on the agenda tomorrow evening next week at the Planning Commission, to talk about the CDBG job, we will also have the Ridge Avenue subdivision plan. That has been reviewed by the county. They provided mostly administrative comments. There was one about adding some safe stopping distance. And one good comment they brought up that we should record an easement agreement as part of our subdivision to provide access to that future lot too. Right now we own them both, so it doesn't matter, but now's a good time, solicitor, to help me draft up that easement agreement so that whenever we do sell it, that's in place. So I would anticipate the Planning Commission will provide conditional approval next week, and we'll go ahead and get that thing recorded.
Awesome.
Among a lot of other things going on, but I think that's it for today.
Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Cyrus.
Thank you. Wanted to give you guys an update on what is known as House Bill 1632, and that is the PTSD or PTSI legislation is moving through right now. It did pass the House fairly significantly. I don't have the final numbers in front of me, but it was a fairly decisive vote in favor of it. But the bill did go through some changes. Some of the things they updated is that the legislation now does require that there be a defined event that occurs that would trigger such a response. And secondly, that anyone who is going after claims under this would have to be seen by a professional, a psychologist or a psychiatrist, which is stuff that we've been asking for from the beginning. There's still some other parts and pieces to this bill that raises some concerns for a lot of municipalities. Yeah, the 3-year window is the biggest one. We want that. You have to be diagnosed within a certain period of time. Most counselors, psychologists tell you that to address PTSD, it needs to be addressed in the first 72 hours of an event. You need to begin treatment to really heal somebody. So the 3-year window kind of raises a lot of concerns for a lot of people. And of course, the big one is the unknown cost on insurance premiums. And those who are not under the state system now, the SWIFT system, which we are, they run the risk of their insurance company dropping them because they don't want to take on these claims if they don't know how long they're going to run and what the potential impact is. So this whole legislation has raised concerns. It's going to the House. It's been taken off the table in the Senate. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know if we know yet, Evan, when it's going to be voted on. I don't know if it's on an agenda yet to be voted on. So we'll see what the Senate does, but we'll keep pushing to try to get it amended or cleaned up. I want to say here, and I'll say it every time, we do support our first responders. We support them. We want to care for them. We want to make sure we're doing what's right for them. That's why I asked Chief Rhino to come last time to hear from, these responders to say that they do have concerns about it. A lot of the first responders are not in favor of this act for multiple reasons. So as we can, we'll keep working with the state to get a bill that is approvable and something that is going to provide benefits for us. Any questions on that one?
No, but I will say the PSAB has an advocacy network, and they have been sending out the things. They have an option. You can just click a button, and it automatically sends a letter to Miller and Allman.
Yeah.
To let them know that you oppose it as well. It's pretty simple. So
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to check that out. Get on the advocacy network.
The second one, Chris mentioned in the beginning, but I just want to highlight it. Next Monday morning from 9 to 10:30, Senator Allman will be here, and he's hosting just a kind of a coffee with the senator. I encourage people to sign up for that. Residents, us, to be there and show support, and to be able to ask questions, hear from the senator of what's going on. If you have any concerns coming up, and it's right here at Old Market House. So I hope a lot of us can attend that. Third, related to the McGinnis project, as you know, we received business in our sites funding from the state. There are time limits on when and how that money can be used. When we went after this funding, the state made it very clear that as long as we're making progress, they're going to continue to work with us. We just received a letter yesterday that the state has extended our timeline again out until mid-November to get everything in and get all the plans approved. So the state is holding to their word. They're working with us, and that gives us time to get the subdivision plan recorded, in and done. And again, we need that plan because the loan portion is a lien against that property, and we want to make that property defined so we don't have to amend that documentation after we get going. So we'll get this plan recorded. That's the last step we need to get the loan closed. We'll get all that stuff done and get this thing going. Finally, we just renewed our TextMyGov contract for another 2 years. One of the big upgrades that we're doing in this next 2-year cycle, which doesn't change our cost any, that is they are going to provide us with a list of phone numbers and cell phone numbers within our area that we can reach out to and say, hey, sign up for us. One of the features, once we get the database all in there, is we can create zones, if you will, or a geofence, like an area. So if there's a small part of town we want to send a notice to, we don't necessarily need to send it to everybody. We want to send it to just a neighborhood. We can do that. We can select on a map, we can select a certain zone, send it to all the cell phones within that zone, send the communication just out to them. So that'll be talking with them today. They're getting the database together for us. They're going to provide that. We'll send a notice out to all of them saying, hey, if you sign up for this, we can send you more information. So it's just another tool we'll be able to use to improve communication as we send them out through that. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Boards, commissions, and committees. Upcoming meetings. We have Shade Tree Commission on Monday evening, Planning Commission next Tuesday evening. We also, in your packet, you have the Parks and Recreation minutes from February, Civil Service minutes from March 12th, and the LASA minutes from March 28th. And Liz Andrews is here for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. She has some updates for us.
So April's minutes were not approved yet by the board because it was missing a motion that one of our members had made. So the borough secretary that comes to help us is going to make that correction and we're gonna revote on that. I got a little bit more information from Nora about the town square fountain stuff going on. The expected run time for this year is May through September. They're looking into timers, so that'll be running at certain times and not necessarily all the time. We went over regular maintenance was allowed, but any changes in replacing of plants would have to get cleared through you guys. And that Parks and Rec is an advisory board and not to give them permission that comes from you guys was also brought up. They are looking to remove the existing tulips and consider replacing them. At this point, they just want to remove them. I guess there's some sort of a lifespan on different flowers, and those bulbs have, I don't know if they've already reached that lifespan. I'm not the plant person, that would be Megan, and she's not here. But it's what they were mentioning through that. Also, there's a few bushes that they said that were not uniform in the way that they look, like part of them are either breaking or just not healthy in general that they wanted to remove. But they have no intention of replacing them yet. They would have to get permission to get something to replace them. They did want to bring in 4 pots in flowers. The flowers would be chosen by Create Columbia's group. And they also want to surround the fountain with potted flowers, all by donation. And then Nora is going to be a liaison between myself and Create Columbia to keep the updates flowing.
Awesome.
I worry about ripping too much out and not replacing it right away because that leads to erosion. So I don't want to see us with a mud puddle up there
Right.
and have it all run down all over our brickwork because they decided to rip things out and not put something in their place.
Right, they have intentions of putting things in. They did have a brochure. I don't know if it would have gotten to you guys yet or not that they brought to Parks and Rec. It looked like it was part of the original design that came in. It listed all the different plants and stuff. I know that Megan is involved. Megan is also on PNR and with River Crossing. And she's very knowledgeable about the plants and stuff. And rainwater, drainage, and all that is a big concern for them. So I fully expect that they would address those types of things and not leave it like wash away.
Well, I hope so too. I mean, I'm just going on, we said that before, then all of a sudden fountain's on, and so I don't want to be in a position where tomorrow we have people up there ripping stuff out and not replacing it, 'cause that's an issue.
Yeah, they also wanted to check into the soil quality to see if certain plants would need to do better or if they need to make any adjustments to that. I did ask if they planned on getting mulch from like the borough farm. They said they weren't sure if they were gonna outsource or give to the borough farm depending on the quality of what's available.
Well, that's us to say where they get their mulch from. They don't tell us where to get the mulch from, so.
So what
Well,
would,
hold on a second. I think what she was talking about was they were gonna do a dirt analysis. And depending on what they needed, they may not be able to use the borough farm.
Right. Well, no, and that's fine, but
Secondly, the money that Nora's talking about is money coming from Create Columbia, not from the borough.
at least for that year thing that was brought up last time. I'm not sure if the additional pots and flowers that they want to bring in is something that council needs to vote on today or not. It was in, Nora's suggestion for March's meeting. Yeah, for March's meeting as well.
I think it was the April workshop, wasn't it?
April, yeah, that's the first one where it came up to us, but I wanted to make sure that you guys had it in front of you.
we also need to make sure that because this was a very, it's a very short time, a very small time frame, that they're not putting stuff in that's going to require us to maintain it next year that's going to be out of our price range. I mean, we can say, oh, it's coming in this year, but next year when it's all on us to maintain, we need to make sure that it's not something specialized that, you know, do you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely, we did.
I'm very worried about that.
Yeah, we did suggest native plants, and back when Hope was still with us, she's who recommended Megan for the plant knowledge and getting native plants involved in there. They are also, I guess, Create Columbia and the people involved with that are also part of the original design. I've only been able to talk to Nora, so I don't know who all is involved at this point, but that's what was passed along to us.
All right. Any other questions?
I'm really concerned about ripping out the bushes and not sure if they're gonna replace them. Like how,
Well, that's what I was saying, like, I don't want to rip something out and say, we'll replace it eventually, and then we end up.
we're talking
If you're gonna
about
take it out, yes,
not getting
put it
rid
in
of
place.
trees, but
The other thing I do wanna mention is, this is the park rangers. That we're doing.
Correct, it's, yeah, it's.
And we do allow park rangers to have somewhat of a free easement.
Well, I don't think they've ever said they were just gonna rip out landscaping before.
no, they just do the cleanup and
Right.
mulching,
No, I
weeding.
understand, but I'm
These were
saying,
specific bushes that they mentioned that had some sort of either lopsidedness or a decay issue or something going on with them.
Liz, maybe what is good is if we can get a proposal from them of what they want to look at, which ones they want to take out and what they want to replace with. And I think maybe council can look at that then. It might give them an opportunity to kind of see what it is. If Megan wants to put something together, we can get it on the agenda and council can look at it.
Yeah, I mean, that, like I said, my concern is the whole, having holes in there and nothing to fill them, and then having the dirt wash away, and
You need to have a plan. That's Mark, there needs to be a plan. You approve the plan and let them do it. But without a plan,
Mhm.
this is gonna be stuck in, this is gonna be taken out, and next thing you know, it doesn't even look like you envisioned.
yeah, I would like to see them wait on tearing anything out until we have an actual plan.
I can try to get more information from that. Can I
Yeah.
move on to movies in the park?
Sure.
I would like to request that the borough help advertise for some of that, whether it's like a Facebook event or, a borough, just a general post, or, for the movies coming up. We've only got one Parks and Rec meeting between now and the next one. It's June 14th, at Logan Street Park. So I'm not sure what type of advertising is available. I do have, an individual who does balloons who would like to come, like, do something like that. The Dream Center has like, popcorn machines and things that we could bring for like pre-movie events. I know the Logan Street one is probably following a music, festival in the park that they throw. I expect that one to have a lot more people than our other locations. We did discuss, trying to find a budget that we could approach council with to see if we could give you guys an itemized list of supplies for, the movies in the park, but we haven't gotten that far yet. The one person I've spoken to so far who is not connected to Create Columbia, I'm still trying to find out who I would connect to for that for movies in the park, volunteers. But, the one person I have spoken to is willing to do the next three, bring her balloons. She has some like yard full of things and checkers and stuff to bring. And basically like, they're doing with Town Square, bring like an invoice at the end of the year, so you guys have an idea of what it would cost or could cost to do continue events like that. Part of that comes from, the River Park wanting to step aside. They felt that the movie in the park was not cost effective to have it down there. They didn't feel it was a great turnout. So that's also why I'm asking for everything.
Well, I mean, all we have to do is let, someone here know to put it on the Facebook. And I just remembered, I'm an admin on the Movies in the Park Facebook page. So I can give that over to you, because I've been answering questions. I've been answering things on Messenger on that. I just remembered that. I don't, because it's not when so I will send you the thing, because, yeah. And you can take care of that. You can do it there, because it has its own Facebook page.
And then the final thing, we didn't quite get it voted on yet, but I'm hoping to improve the networking with community members surrounding the park and stuff, each borough park, and just kind of improve the communication there for each one and getting activities going there again. Hopefully next meeting we'll have people there that are ready to vote on it. We want to make sure everyone has an idea of what's involved.
I had a question. Didn't we, in the past years, typically vote on the movies in the park at the beginning of the season, the list of movies, and then the cost that it was going to cost the borough to
You're right, Pete.
rent those?
Pam Williams ran that program.
Mhm.
Robin Gandy. There was a budget. It was in.
It was in the budget.
There was a line item in the budget. Movies in the park.
Well, and we still have that.
It's
line
under
item.
the parks, yeah.
Yeah, it's under the park.
But
We're
the
just not
library,
voting on
the library's providing the movies.
Oh,
We
are
just
they?
have to pay for the licensing, because you still have to pay for the licensing. But I believe that what I've understood, right, Mark?
Mhm.
That the library has these in DVD copies
Oh,
or
cool.
whatever, so
Because
that's.
normally we would purchase them and then.
Yeah,
give
we
them to
don't
the
always
library.
have to purchase them. Sometimes the library does have them, and when they do, we just get them from the library.
Right, but the licensing is the expensive part.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Which, if I wasn't mistaken, it was a couple $1,000s for the season,
I don't remember.
all of them together.
Yeah, I
Depends
don't-
on how
I-
many we do.
Yeah, I
And
can't
we're
remember.
still trying to look into the fact that I think you have to license it if there's over 50 people.
Okay.
So we're still trying to even look out and see if we're having groups of 15 to 20, I'm not sure a license is even
Yeah, it's
required.
about $1,500. It's like $500 a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it is.
that's about what it is. Yeah.
So we're trying to verify all that now to see what's required. We'll license it if we need to, but if we're only having 25, 30 people show up, technically it may not be required.
All right. Mhm. That puts us at the Borough Council comments. Councilperson Stahl.
I just had one final thought for the interaction we just had here with Parks and Rec. I think the position of some of these plans or changes to any sort of park, I guess what I would see being helpful is to the advisory board really getting behind a plan or idea and having it brought to us as a recommendation and not necessarily bringing individual aspects of that plan to us for a decision, whether it's this flower or that tear out this bush. In other words, like the role of the Parks and Rec advisory board is to really get those plans finalized to the point where you can confidently make a recommendation for council. That way we aren't making a redundant conversation here, because we trust you guys to come up with a plan that makes sense and is good for the long term in respect to our parks and our public enjoyment of spaces there. So thank you. Thanks for the work you're putting in.
For what types of flowers and stuff, but I don't think that they have that ironed out yet. So I'll keep asking and try to get that.
All right. Councilperson Murphy.
Nothing, I just want to ask you, as far as the music in the town, in the Lake Street Park, is there an event this weekend?
17th.
Think so, yeah.
Okay.
Maxwell.
Yeah, just let the public know about that as well. So those are always well attended and they really are good events.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
I just thought of something, Derek, when you were talking earlier about the sidewalks. I just want to make people aware, you may already be aware of this, but I was walking down Linden Street. I think it's Linden, the one that goes to Route 30. And if it's south or north Second and you're going up towards Burger King, there's a section there where the black top on the road and it leaves like I bet it's about 8 inches of a drop down. There's no sidewalk, there's no curb. And I was wondering if you ever had a chance to go out and look at that. I mean, maybe Jake, you're aware of it. I know there are kids, there are bicycles and things, there are kids who live there, and it just looked very dangerous to me. And I was wondering if you were aware of that. It doesn't even go to the whole block. Maybe it goes in front of 1 or 2 houses. So I just wanted to, I don't know, just alert you to that, and if it might be something that maybe could be fixed, or maybe something that you could look at in the future as a possible project. And then the other thing is there is a resource fair on the Saturday at Maple Park from 11 to 2, rain or shine. So if you are so inclined, stop out.
I have a couple of things. First of all, currently the public comment period for the Connects 2050 and the Transportation Improvement Program is now to next month. If you would like to see what the County Planning Commission is appropriating money for the next 5 years for transportation improvements, and you have comments, you can go out to the Lancaster County Planning Department website and get connected with those plans to make public comments. Next, Leo asked me to announce this. One of our own Columbia people has been effective today, appointed as the president of Lancaster Catholic High School. The new president, the current president, Ted Namer, is retiring. So one of our own, Kyla Morrison Hockley, was appointed to be the president of Lancaster Catholic, which is a pretty big deal. That's even higher than the principal. So, and just happens to be my sister, and I'm really proud of her too. So, and I think that was it. Yeah, that was it. Announcement of next meeting at 7 p.m. on May 28th. Council will hold a regular meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl to adjourn at 8:47 p.m. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned.